Welcome back, vinyl community. Got a roundup of recent finds, pickups, spins, whatever you want to call it, for you. I've got a record fair coming up this weekend, so I thought I'd clear the decks and share what else I've been picking up that I haven't shown yet. Going to start off with some record store and online pickups. First up, this is a lady whose records I've been kind of gradually picking up as I see them. It's been on my radar for a little while now. Buffy St. Marie, Canadian-born folk artist, 1960s. This is Little Wheel Spin and Spin. It's one of her early ones, I think. Couple albums in, I think. It's on the red Vanguard label. I got this pretty cheap, and it's in really nice shape. What can I say about her? Political activist, First Nations folk artist, pioneering First Nations folk artist. She's kind of a strange mix of this the traditional 60s folk singer doing these very mannerly 18th century songs, which are usually about murder and lust and, and all these kind of subjects. And she's also got this kind of nature's child persona under there too, and a very political minded one at that. She's got a song on here called My Country, 'Tis of Thy People You're Dying, which is absolutely scathing, scorching refutation of the traditional Eurocentric version of American history. Just Bob Dylan at the time would wish he would touch that level of righteous indignation and rage. It's the only way I can put it. Cheap bin find at another record store. Aretha Arrives. That is a Red Atlantic pressing, original, Canadian. I think it's actually her second album for Atlantic. It's got a cover of the Stones, Satisfaction, 96 Tears. I think not any of her major hits on here, but just hitting the stride that would establish her as a soul superstar. Spotted this one in the newly arrived bins at another store, the Pharaohs in the Basement. It's a compilation of kind of outtakes, B-sides for the Love and Hate label. The Pharaohs, jazz funk. Several members I think went off to join Earth, Wind and Fire. Killer compilation there. This was a blind buy in one of the local stores in the cheap bins. I didn't know anything about it, but it looked pretty interesting. I'm going to give you a needle drop on this one. It is Remmy Aiso, Own Lines. She's also known as Remmy Aiso sometimes. I mean, just look at her. And on the back, she's rock and roll, right? This is actually a Japanese pressing. Original price 2,500 yen. It's on the Atlantic label. She was an original member of a group called Yuya Uchida and the Flowers. She was on the 1969 album that they put out called Challenge, where they all appeared in the nude on the cover, and she's right in the foreground. After that, she left to go to America, spent some time gigging around the Pacific Northwest in various bands, even playing some country music, whatever the local audiences wanted to hear. And then sometime after that, in the 1970s, returned to Japan, cut this album. In the meantime, the remaining members of the Flowers went on to reform as the Flower Traveling Band, which are well known in the VC. The first couple of songs on here, I wasn't too sure if this record was going to be a keeper, but then the third song, the title track, kicks in, and there's a big breath of soul enters the room. And on side B, she does a spot-on cover of Etta James's I'd Rather Go Blind. I won't needle drop that one. I'm sure we'll get some copyright problems. Remmy Aiso, Own Lines. Hope you can hear that. Soul from Japan. Real Janis Joplin influence here too. Becomes stronger as the album goes on. Moving on. Picked up a few online purchases. I talked a bit about the Studio One label in Jamaica, how it's kind of considered the Motown of Jamaica. Studio One has kind of gotten active again, putting out some new releases, new compilations, reissues of out-of-print LPs. They're distributed by the Yep Rock Music Group, so I splurged on a few of their recent releases, and they are quality. First up, and they all come with these Obi strips, some liner notes on there. First up is called a compilation called Moneymaker. I think this first appeared around 1969, 1970-ish. There. So this is a straight reissue of that album. Apparently it's one of the rarer albums in the Studio One catalog. It's mainly instrumentals by Im and David, which is Cedric Im Brooks and David Madden, saxophonists. Cedric Brooks was one of the founding members of the Count Ossie and the Mystic Revelation of Rastafari. And side 2 gets into some Jackie Matu organ instrumentals, and kind of in between the two there's the odd vocal, including one by actually by Studio One founder Coxsone Dodd himself, the great Guga Ruga, where he's doing some kind of jive talk DJing. And liner notes are by Chris Wilson of Heartbeat Records, which was one of the premier US reissue labels through the 1980s into the 1990s, early 2000s. They kind of went dormant, but Chris Wilson wrote liner notes to many of those Heartbeat releases, which was one of the first to reissue Studio One's catalog and put it out there for a new generation. So it's nice to see him active again. He's a great authority. Another one, this is a brand new compilation on the great trombonist Don Drummond. Not really a big fan of Obi strips. I know the VC seems to like them. This is a new compilation called Don Cosmic. Great liner notes there, photos. Don Drummond, I've talked a little bit about him before in earlier videos. He's been called, who was it I think? Some jazz guy called him one of the greatest trombonists in the world. He was a founding member of the Skatalites and a founding father of ska music. Touched by mental illness, unfortunately, in a dissociative state, I guess. He actually murdered his girlfriend, the dancer Marguerite. Spent the last few years of his life in mental hospital, Bellevue Mental Hospital in Jamaica, before dying in 1969 under mysterious circumstances. His death kind of precipitated the gradual breakup of the Skatalites. But this is a nice compilation, brand new compilation of his work, kind of focusing more on his jazz roots rather than pure ska. And the last of these Studio One releases that I picked up was a classic LP. I'll probably never own an original, but it is Freddie Mac, Picture on the Wall. Freddie Mac isn't too well known outside reggae, but his records are highly prized within. This is his debut album for Studio One, originally released around 1970, and augmented with a second LP of alternate versions and extended mixes and that kind of thing. Again, excellent archival release here. So great to see Studio One getting active again and putting out some great new stuff. A few more thrift finds. I'm going to try and move along here. One from the other day, In the Heat of the Night. Quincy Jones with Ray Charles doing the title track. UK pressing. United Artists. And who else is on here? Glenn Campbell is on here doing a vocal. So real mix of stuff. Who else? Ray Brown on bass. Glenn Campbell on banjo as well. Kind of cool stuff there. This was a real shocking thrift find very recently. I was flipping around and couldn't believe my eyes to see David Axelrod in the thrift bins, Value Village in Canada. David Axelrod's rock interpretation of Handel's Messiah. I was expecting it to be classical. It's kind of based on that Handel's Messiah kind of classical operatic work, but it's David Axelrod, and I don't know a whole lot about David Axelrod. This is actually my first LP under his own name. I've probably heard some of his productions for others. Got a little bit of water staining on there, but the record's in excellent shape. But just really gets into some rock, gets into some jazz, gets into some gospel choir music, just mixes it all up. Very intriguing. Written and arranged by him and conducted by Cannonball Adderley. So that was quite a good thrift find. Had some just the other day, just yesterday actually. I had quite the thrift find yesterday, as you'll see. Wu-Tang Clan, Protect Your Neck, 12-inch single. Electric Dreams, compilation featuring Giorgio Moroder. Tears for Fears, Pale Shelter, 12-inch. One I did not have by them. There was, along with the Wu-Tang Clan, there was some kind of like hip-hop and DJ records. Nothing really caught my eye. But I did grab this one called Brazilian Beats 2. I guess it's on, yeah, it's a Mr. Bongo release. Cover's kind of tattered, but records are in good shape. I didn't really just say vinyls, did I? I showed these guys in my Caribbean video, found another one by them. Emil Straker and the Merryman Caribbean Treasure Chest. I think this is 1966, only like their second album. Jamaican pressing on the World label, really nice shape. It's kind of folky Caribbean flavored folk music from Barbados. And one more, Smith's 12-inch. The, what's it called? The Boy with the Thorn in His Side. I don't have much Smiths on vinyl. I have quite a bit on CD, but there's something about hearing them on vinyl. The ones I have sound really good for some reason. Must be Johnny Marr's guitars just pop out. So that was a good find. And I had I showed some Israeli records in one of my previous thrifted videos. I found a bunch of Israeli records. I found one more, and I was going to do some needle drops on it. I don't have too much info on this one. Can't find any... well, first of all, the sleeve is completely in Hebrew. The only thing I can see is songs by Chaim Nachman Bialik, who was an early 20th century Jewish poet. So I'm guessing these are poems set to music by various kind of contemporary Israeli artists. Other than that, it's completely in Hebrew. But I'm going to give you a couple of needle drops to give a taste of this. Some beautiful melodies on this. Kind of classical, kind of folky, some kind of Eastern European textures on there. This melody seems to recur on a few tracks. Must be the same song by different singers or something. Hope this doesn't get blocked. I have no way of checking it. I can't even see who any of the artists are. And things really get weird on this track. Kind of almost psychedelic, I would say. Or exotic psychedelia. Sounds of the Middle East. On the next track, things get kind of more traditional rock. But by far the most astounding thrift find I had yesterday. This is a grail level thrift find. I'm not calling it necessarily that for myself, but I posted this on Instagram, and I've heard of world-class reggae collectors that don't have this record and been looking for it for years. I was flipping through the bins at my local thrift store. You know, you pass the Andy Gibb, you pass the Barbra Streisand, you pass the Tom Jones, and you don't normally find a original Jamaican Studio One pressing. Swing Easy. This is from 1969. Original pressing according to Discogs. Studio One label. Got a stamp from a former owner. Shout out to Sir Charles from Toronto, Ontario. But this is one of those various artist compilations. Did not have this one. I don't think I even have it on CD. But it's got a few songs by the Freedom Singers on it. The Slickers, the Cables, Winston Francis, Roy Richards, a classic tune called Things Come Up to Bump, which is credited to the Victors. They were also known as the Bassies. The Heptones, one of their classics, Get in the Groove. Lord Creator doing Feel the Rhythm, originally a Clancy Eccles song. There's a cover of The Doors' Light My Fire, kind of following the Jose Feliciano pattern, by Soul Sam. Soul Sam was better known as Jeff Dixon. He was kind of a Jamaican radio jock. Later became known as Free Eye, and he was one of the ones murdered along with Peter Tosh in a home invasion of Tosh's house / extortion attempt, which turned into a slaughter and ended in the death of Peter Tosh, Free Eye, and several others. So, Swing Easy compilation. Find that in a thrift store. I could not believe it. Very decent condition too. So that's what I've got for you today, guys. Hope you enjoyed. Record fair is coming up, so I hope to have more to share with you. Cheers. Peace.